96.
Let's talk some baseball.
And he's striking out looking on the outside corner of the fastball. So Lynn picks up strikeout number 4.
Jock Easton looks to bunt his way on. It's fielded barehand by Lance, and he'll fire it over to Guzman.
Getting ready to start here, post-game show. Feel free to send in some questions on the chat. Rangers fall to the Dodgers 7-4. We're going to talk Lance trade deadline. All right, Rangers extra innings here on the flagship 105.3 The Fan. Jared Sandler with you. I want to say hi to our friends on the 105.3 The Fan Facebook Live page, people on YouTube as well. Just go to @Jared Sandler on Twitter to check out the links to join the conversation through one of those platforms. Of course, radio.com app on your smartphone listening device, 1053thefan.com. Always options as well if you're out of market or unable to tune in on the FM side of the dial on 105.3. Rangers fall 7-4. You just heard some of Lance Lynn's fine work here tonight. Still, even without his best stuff, his best command, he found a way to get through not just the best lineup in baseball, but more specifically the most lethal lineup against right-handed pitching in baseball. Still put forth a quality start, 4 runs, but just 3 earned over 6 innings in what might be his last start as a Texas Ranger. We're certainly going to entertain that conversation here tonight. 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053, the number to call and the number to text. So I want to go over just the game, and then at the bottom of the hour, we'll really get into trade deadline discussion. And again, this is where I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to chime in. We'll talk with the fine folks on Facebook Live and those of you on YouTube as well during the commercial break, and perhaps might bring some of your questions to air. But the Rangers fall 7-4. It's tough to play from behind against the Dodgers because their bullpen is so good. But the Rangers did have some opportunities. I thought, I know we're not in the business of consolation prizes, but there have been times this year where, the team the Rangers played beat them and looked like, they had their stuff together and the Rangers were just all out of sorts. And that just wasn't the case tonight. The Rangers just lost to a really good team. Lance Lynn, we mentioned the command wasn't as sharp. He had some lengthy battles and leading to some lengthy innings. So the pitch count was up there, but he just, as Matt and Eric talked about, if you heard the network portion of the postgame, he still finds ways to get things done. 6 innings, he gave the team the Dodgers. Max Muncy, who, despite not putting together a season with a respectable batting average, still getting on base and still coming up with some big hits for them. And he had a big 3-run home run in the 7th. Prior to that, Cody Bellinger, a 2-run home run after almost homering his first at bat against Lance Lynn, in which he ultimately struck out. But the Rangers, the real pain point tonight, I guess, would be that 7th inning bullpen combination of Garcia and Taylor Hearn. Taylor gave up the 3-run home run to Muncy, inheriting a tough spot from Garcia. Those two guys struggled, but bookending the Rangers combo of pitchers tonight, Lance Lynn with the start, and then Kyle Cody, 2 1/3 scoreless, hitless innings. A lot of this year, the rest of this year, while wins and losses are important, and the Rangers still have 10 games left against the Astros, and who knows, but I think a lot of it's going to be the focus on the youth. And so when Kyle Cody puts together a night like tonight, I think it excites you. And I think as we get towards the month of September, you're going to see more opportunities for someone like Kyle Cody as he continues to show that, hey, the moment's not too big for him. He's definitely capable of performing, and I think they're going to continue maybe to give him opportunities to stretch out. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Kyle Cody get a start before everything is all said and done. And then more young guy stuff. Ronald Guzman, I don't know, just being honest, I'm not sure how much a part of the future plans he's in for the Rangers. He's really got to improve offensively, but he did everything he could tonight to show that maybe some progress has been made. Now, of course, we all know that one night isn't enough to signify a turnaround or guarantee improvement, but it was a good night for Guzzi. 3 for 3, a home run. He walked, was a triple shy of the cycle. We know that Guzzi defensively is outstanding, and he doesn't need to be lights out offensively. He doesn't need to be a big first base masher, but if he can be a league average offensive player, then you've got an above average overall player. Is that what you're striving for? I don't know. There are probably opportunities perhaps to get more offense out of your first baseman. But in the meantime, just considering what, the guys the Rangers have, that's, I think, a realistic goal for Guzzi. He's got those long arms, and, he's got to be able to show that he can catch up to velocity. He's got to be able to not have those long arms be a disadvantage, because, sometimes hitters with long arms, that you can beat them inside. They're not able to get those hands moving quickly enough. Obviously, Guzzi's had his struggles against lefties, but it was a good night for him tonight, and I'm sure he's going to continue to get some opportunities so long as he's up here with the big club. And then how about Leote? His first career home run, that was nice to see. He also drew a walk. I know he struck out twice, but again, if you expected this guy as a 21-year-old to dominate major league pitching in his first taste of the big leagues and not, have some at-bats where the pitcher just totally wins that battle outright, then you're probably being unrealistic. I just think that the patience and the command of the strike zone has been really impressive from the youngster so far. I really like seeing that. Again, the Rangers fall 7-4. All right, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. Going to chat with my friends on Facebook Live, and those of you who are tuning in on YouTube. During the break, when we come back, though, we're going to talk trade deadline. Was this Lance Lynn's final start as a Texas Ranger? We will discuss that. Plus, we'd love to know what you'd like this team to do over the next 48 hours as we continue with Rangers Extra Innings here on your home of the Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. How long do we have? Listen to the G-Bag Nation every day, anywhere, at 4.5. Okay. Guys, I'm going to run and get some water quickly, and then I'll come in and answer your questions. 1 second.
Way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times.
All right, let's talk.
Incredible amount of money.
Let's talk. Travis, could Lynn fetch someone like Brandon Marsh? So for those of you who aren't familiar with Brandon Marsh, he's a 22-year-old outfield prospect for the Angels. I believe he's somewhere in the 80s and MLB's top 100 prospects. Yeah, I think he could. I think you could also reach a little higher if you're going to go that route. I think there are 2 routes you can go. There can be go after one kind of big fish and then maybe supplement it with a few, role player type prospects, or you could maybe go younger guys who are 18, 19, haven't played a full season of minor league baseball, maybe from the Dominican, guys you've scouted, and try to get 3 or 4 of those guys with the idea that, a couple of them could end up being really, really good players for you. If you're going to go the blue chip route, the one guy, and again, could be supplemented with a few others, but the one guy who stands above the rest, I think you could do better than Brandon Marsh. But Brandon Marsh is definitely, definitely someone you could go after, I think.
Green-lighted by the IRS for the summer of 2020.
Most likely to be traded. Rafael Montero, Joely Rodriguez. I mean, I think Gallo gets traded, or I think the conversations for Gallo really heat up this offseason. Jason, I don't think the Braves would do that. That might be a little too steep of a price. But could be wrong. Andrew Vaughn's not a horrible idea. I don't get the sense the White Sox have much interest in parting with him. I also think the Rangers would love to go after someone who could play up the middle. But listen, if you can get Andrew Vaughn for Lance Lynn, I don't think anyone's really complaining about that. Vaughn, those of you who aren't familiar, is out of Cal, first base prospect, one of the top prospects in baseball. To the Muller and Waters conversation. I mean, if you get Muller and Waters, that's probably one of the best selling trades that you could make. Waters, one of the top, and they're both in the top 10 of the Braves system. And Muller, you're getting a 22-year-old lefty, and Waters, you're getting I think he's 21-year-old. He's 21, right? 21-year-old outfielder who's a switch hitter. That'd be a great haul. Hi to Mike Adams. You guys remember Mike? Big part of the Rangers bullpen during some of the team's best years last decade. Mike's the man. Grayson, again, I know I kind of jumped away from your question. I think, you look at the bullpen, but then also I think there'll be conversations with Joey Gallo, but I don't know if he gets traded this deadline. I think, it's really going to intensify this offseason.
We're here to put you first because First Financial Bank is Texas.
What's up, y'all?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here at the Uptown.
I'd say 88%, Travis.
Well, it's hard not to call it anything but a display of stupidity.
No, I don't, Michael. I don't think that's the issue. I think you got to look at the players on that one.
There are easier ways to prove you're up. Whoa! That got hurt. Like I was saying, there are easier ways.
You probably have another minute, maybe a little less.
For instance,
Let's see what we got here on YouTube. Anyone? What's up, YouTubers?
And in charge of his life.
Thanks so much for partying with us.
Have the chance to receive college loans, job training, and government jobs. And best of all, it doesn't hurt a bit. Register with Selected Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday.
Michael, I don't know the answer to that. I really have no insight on that. Unlikely, Corey. Mine are probably not a whole lot, Jason. Very little.
I got some audio game coming back.
Going. We're DFW Sports Station. 105.3 The Fan.
We're shooting a swing, and it's fastball by him at 96. So Cody wraps up his first strikeout. Cody comes to the high set. He lets it fly 2-2, and he struck him out looking on the inside.
Told you Portland to LA, be a game.
Both with the naked eye and again on the replay. And Muncie is letting Adam Hammer in.
Well, there you go, Lance Lynn. Final start as a Ranger. Let's discuss a few housekeeping notes. First of all, just a random observation. And by the way, great conversation on Facebook Live. Appreciate all of you. 105.3 The Fan Facebook page. You can always tune in to Rangers Extra Innings that way. 877-881-1053. I'd love to hear from you. What would you like the Rangers to do? Do you want them to trade Lance Lynn? If you do, what are you expecting in return? If you don't, what's your plan to help turn this ship around? Who would you like to trade? Who would you like to hold on to? Let's hear your thoughts. 877-881-1053. All right, two quick things before we get into this. One, a trade deadline housekeeping note, but first, when Ronald Guzman was rounding the bases, and understand, I'm about to make not a single comparison in ability or expectation or potential. I am simply making an appearance observation. Ronald Guzman was running around the bases with his dark, curly, black hair showing from beyond his helmet. It looked a little bit like Juan Gonzalez, like young Juan Gonzalez before he, became straight in the back and a little more trim. Young Juan Gonzalez who had that, that mulletish, type, black curly hair look. Again, I'm not making any sort of comparisons in talent, ability, any of that. But he had that look when he was rounding the bases. Second thing, my understanding with trades this year is that if you're not a part of the 60-man roster for a team, so the now 28-man big league roster, the player pool, the taxi squad group, you cannot be traded. So the workaround there is that guy becomes a player to be named later. There's no reason why if I'm trading with you and I want Joe Prospect, but Joe Prospect's not a part of the 60-man pool, that I can't agree that you're going to trade me that guy once the season ends and he just is a player to be named later. That stuff certainly could happen. So I guess I say that to say this. If the Rangers make a trade and it's a guy with a name and another two that are to be named later, or there's a player to be named later involved, do not assume that it's your typical player to be named later who's just kind of a throw-in. This could be an impact type player. It's just someone who might not be, for whatever reason, a part of the 60-man player pool for that team. The reason why, unless the rule changed and a lot of this stuff's been fluid, but my understanding is that they wanted to try and limit travel for players, not just players in general. So if you're not a part of the 60-man taxi squad, or I guess the 32-man taxi, 28-man big league side, they didn't want to, promote the ability for all guys to travel just for protection purposes. So just be prepared if that's the case. All right, let's get to Lance Lynn. 682's texting in. Who do you want them to trade, sir? That's a very nice sign of respect. I haven't been called sir in a long time. I don't know that I want them to trade anyone in the way like I want to see that guy out of here. But I think if you're considering the options for rebuilding this ship or getting this team in the best position to compete, you got to ask yourself with Lance Lynn, are they going to compete? Are the Rangers going to compete next season? Well, listen, I don't know that you can definitively say absolutely not, but I think we can agree that some changes need to be made. Guys either need to really improve, they need to make some moves in the offseason. They need Corey Kluber, for instance, to show a clean bill of health and the Rangers to pick up his option. That would help having Lynn and Kluber at the top of the rotation. But if you're playing the odds, and in this role, you can't really guarantee much. You have to play the odds. Odds are that if it goes back down to 5 playoff teams, it's going to be really tough for the Rangers to do that. All right, so then the next question you ask is, what benefit could Lance Lynn have being on the team next year? Well, if you've got a bunch of young guys, I mean, Lance is absolutely the type of guy you'd love to have around your young pitchers. He could have that type of an influence. But what is that worth? And, you put a price on it. And, for those who are only listening, I've got my hand at eye level, all right? If teams come in at a level below that, then, all right, you wait till the offseason or, you wait till the next year's trade deadline. You set a price and be realistic. All right, you can be aggressive in your price, but don't try and hit a walk-off grand slam in Game 7 of the World Series with this trade. But you can be aggressive, and if a team raises or goes above that bar, then all right, you pull the trigger. I think there are 2 routes you can go here. I think there are 2 routes you can go. One, you can go for one big prospect. And listen, I guess Jim Bowden, who former GM, he writes for The Athletic, he put out an article, 5 potential packages the Rangers could get. And I didn't think that these guys would necessarily be available for Lance Lynn, but maybe they will be. Luis Patino from the Padres, I'm in. Dane Dunning and Jonathan Stever from the White Sox, I need more. Clark Schmidt and Clint Frazier from the Yankees, all right, I could be in on that. The one thing I know, Clint Frazier's a really appealing name. One thing that's worth noting is that defensively, don't really have a position. And Stever, who I imagine, it's not a incredibly popular name. He's not a big time prospect for them. Another potential package, Ross Stripling and Josiah Gray. Josiah Gray being the stud here from the Dodgers. Would I be in on Josiah Gray? Yes. He's a 22-year-old righty, one of the top prospects in baseball. I'd absolutely be in on that. I'd also be in on Gavin Lux. So you can go that route. The one, you get the one big-time prospect who's ranked highly, and then maybe you get a few other prospects sprinkled in, but not guys who, are incredibly significant. Or you could go a different route where you're going to get 3 or 4 prospects. They're not going to be ranked highly because they're going to be 17, 18, 19 years old. They're going to have only played in the Dominican, maybe short season, maybe 1 year of low A. And because of that, they're not going to have the type of eyes that have been on them to have been ranked higher. Typically, unless you're like a first-round pick, if all you've done is played like short season, you're not going to be a big-time, highly ranked prospect. You get more credit, more weight as you progress through the levels. And understand this too. Without a full minor league season, some of the guys that you could trade for, whether it's the Rangers or any team, are guys who could have shot up the rankings with their performances this season. But I think that might be the more wise route because the Rangers aren't a loaded farm system. They could now. I think their farm system will be thought of way, way more highly this time next year than as we speak right now. But they could benefit from getting 2, 3, 4 guys who can all fit within the top 20 of their organizational rankings, and one guy who could be top 5. But they might not be there right now. This might be one of those moves where right away we're looking at like, huh? I don't know who this guy is. This guy's, he hasn't even played, whatever. But this is where you got to rely on your scouts to roll up their sleeves, to get dirty. And not like dirty in a below board way, but get your hands dirty. And find the guys who have those sorts of qualities. Fernando Tatis Jr. was given away for James Shields because he was 17 years old and hadn't developed in full yet. But the Padres saw something special in him. And it's not like the rest of baseball saw something special in him because there were 26 guys in his international signing class who got paid more. But the Padres saw something, and look at how they've benefited from that. Padres are where they are because they've done a hell of a job scouting and finding guys before they become big. And that's another route they could go. From the 817, Odor probably has no trade value. Is he on the team next year? You're right. He probably doesn't have trade value, but I think the Rangers, if they decide they're done, they could DFA him. I think that's a very realistic possibility. From the 817, would it be worth it to put Montero and Lynn in the same trade package? Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You obviously want to maximize the value for both. So, if you've got a guy or if there's a collection of guys you so desperately want and adding Montero will help put that deal over the top, okay. But, if you feel like you can make some moves without that and then trade Montero in a separate deal, typically you're going to get more overall value when you make multiple deals instead of package a guy. But if you're not, if you don't feel like that market's there for Montero and his best asset to you would be to add to a deal, sure, it's possible. I think Joely Rodriguez is a guy who could maybe bring something back, nothing major. Jonathan Hernandez could for sure, but I think that if you're interested in trading Jonathan Hernandez, I would wait a year because if you wait till he's a closer next year, which is possible if you move Montero, his value will only shoot up. When he shows that he can handle that sort of a role, his value will be even higher. So, I don't know that trading Johnny's the right move right now. Mike Minor, he pitched well yesterday. I don't know that, that helped his value significantly. He's had a rough year. Did it hurt his value? Obviously not. But you're not getting a lot from Mike Minor, who's a free agent to be. It only will give a team 3 to 4 starts. He might not even be in their playoff rotation. Shin-Soo Chu's name's been talked about a bunch. Last year, this time, I think Chu would have some value in this current world where every team's got a DH. But it's really tough to justify value for a 38-year-old who is best used as a DH, probably best used only facing righties, and this year is hitting .217 with an on-base below 300. So could you, trade him somewhere? You want to give the veteran a chance to be a part of a playoff team and get a player to be named later? Yeah, you could, but I don't expect much in return there. Joey Gallo. I think the Rangers are absolutely having conversations about Joey. And I think they're going to continue to have conversations about Joey because I don't think he gets traded before the deadline. I could be wrong. I could be misreading this market, which, this is one of those things. The trade deadline is always one of these deals where if you think it's right, then it's left. If you think it's up, then it's down. If you think it's a zig, then it's a zag. But my sense is that the market will heat up for Joey this offseason. Chris Woodward did say something interesting. He was asked about, what the next couple of days might bring. And he said that there's a really good chance that when the Rangers play on Tuesday, there are going to be a couple guys who are not with the team anymore. So, that seems to be an indication that, he believes that there's enough momentum that stuff's going to happen. I think that I'd be shocked if both Montero and Lynn are Rangers on Tuesday. And I'm starting to believe more and more that tonight was Lance Lynn's final start as a Ranger. Just because a lot of the literature that's out there, a lot of the experts, the people who have that executive expert feel are suggesting the packages or the types of packages for Lance Lynn that I think would lead the Rangers to pull the trigger. So I think that's an interesting dynamic. All right, that's going to do it for us here tonight. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, with more Rangers Extra Innings. Pre-game's at 1, first pitch at 1:35. It's Kyle Gibson on the mound for the Rangers, Tony Gonsolin on the mound for the Dodgers. The Rangers lose 7-4. I want to thank Alec Medford, Zach Rowe, Alex Silva, Eric Nadell, Matt Hicks. I'm Jared Sandler. We're going to be joining CBS Sports in progress here on your home of the Rangers, 105 through the Fan. All right, y'all. Have a great night. Talk soon.
I'm good enough. Except
Adios.
I had my page. I was turned to the wrong page. That's why.